What is up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. We are doing a how-to secondary guide for our boys Death Guard. They have been a huge upgrade in Arks of Omen. A lot of people keep complaining about losing armor contempt, but again, everybody lost armor contempt, so it wasn't really that big a deal. A lot of our weapons are AP1, AP2. Our flails are now just even better, like doing AP2 and 2 damage on everything. All of our weapons are free. All of our guns for our Terminators are free. Our characters went down. Our points went, like, there's a bunch of stuff. I did a whole video on our Death Guard Arks of Omen, but this video specifically is going to be made for the secondaries. We're going to go over kind of how it is in the tournament scene, what you're going to be doing, how to improve on your secondary game, and how to just play Death Guard in general when it comes to getting more points for your secondaries. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks for clicking on the video. Hit the subscribe and the notification bell so when these videos pop up, you actually can see them. It's pretty weird how the algorithm works, but with not a lot of subs, we're almost close to 2,000. If you guys are watching this video, so close to 2,000. Once you get up to those, 10, 15, 20,000 subscribers, these pop up all the time. But for our young gents, little channels, we need those subs. So guys, I appreciate it. All of our Patreons on the Dirtbag Nation, there's 28 of you as of today. You're fucking awesome. Appreciate you for supporting the channel. We got our dice in. I don't know if you guys can see, but we got the, let me see if I can change it. No, it's green, of course. So we got Dirtbag dice in. Can't really see that one either. So Dirtbag dice, they look fucking sick. They feel great. They sold out. So, oh, fuck me. So we're ordering more. We went from ordering 400 to now ordering 1,700. So I'm still placing orders. So if you guys are Dirtbag Nations, go join. If you want dice, hit me up in Discord. We're placing orders and we're ordering them as soon as possible. So let's get into the video, guys. I pulled this up last time. I just did a Grey Knight version of this as well. We're doing our 2 main armies. We got Grey Knights, Death Guard. I'm probably going to be doing Chaos Space Marines as well as Sisters. Now, these 2 are our main ones because we've been playing them for the past 2 years. But let's break it down for you guys. So going over, like I said, it's going to be a huge advantage for our 3 secondaries. If you have a codex that has secondaries in it that you can really take all 3, Necron, Sisters, Death Guard, Space Marines, like, it's a really good codex. Like, and that's why I don't discourage Death Guard, because we have really good secondary. Like, if you can use all 3 secondaries in your codex, you're probably going to do well in the tournament scene. So hopefully you guys can see this over here. We're going to start down at the top. We're going to go over the Death Guard ones specifically first, and then we're going to go over ones that you can take instead of the ones that you have now. So most of the time you're going to be taking those prisoners, but with fleeing vectors, it got a huge buff. So before, at the end of each player's turn, so your turn and their turn, score 2 victory points. Used to be 1 victory point if you kill 7 models. Now it's 2 victory points. And if you killed them with a plague weapon, you score 1 additional point. Now you have to kill 7 models with plague weapons, but most of our weapons are plague weapons, especially melee. So if you kill 7 models with a plague weapon, you get 3 points per turn. So this is going to change up our list a little bit. How this works is it works in both players' turns, but you can do it really in the shooting phase with plague weapons. So you have the Plague Burst Crawler, you have the heavy plague blight launcher from the floated blight drones. So they shoot 36 inches, 6 shots, assault, -3, which is ridiculous, and 2 damage. So if you can get these off 36 inches away, and let's say you have 2 of them, or the Plague Burst Crawler and one of these guys, you're going to be shooting from afar. There's a stratagem to turn bolt guns into plague weapons. So if you have a 10-man Termi squad with all combi bolters, you can turn them into plague weapons. If you have the 1 Dread Knight that you have to spend a CP to bring, you can bring heavy bolters with that guy and turn them into plague weapons. So Tallyman lets him hits on 2s, exploding 6s, reroll 1s if you're near 6 inches of a lord, and then you are doing 2 damage with heavy bolters from super far away. So pretty reliable to get this now from shooting. So yeah, this is a huge bonus for us, guys. Now, there's a bonus to this, is at the end of each morale phase, you get 2 victory points if the enemy has failed morale tests. Now, this isn't going to be for every army. You're not really going to be taking this for knights or people that don't fail morale tests, Thousand Suns, stuff like that. But you can still at least get 3 victory points if you don't have anything else to choose. And if they have obviously over like 7 models a turn that you can kill. But back to this, if you fail the morale, you get an additional 2 victory points. And if you killed somebody with a plague weapon that failed morale, you get an additional victory points. You can go up to 6 victory points every player turn. Holy shit. Guys, there's no max, there's no cap to this. So if you go 6 in your turn, 6 in their turn, you're at 12 by turn 1. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like a really good fucking secondary. You do it again, turn 2, you get 6. Now you're up to 18. You max out at 15, boom, you don't even care anymore. You're like, you know what, screw it, I'm done. Now this also forces them knowing you have this, which most of the time they're not really going to think about it when you tell them that you have fleeing vectors, but they have to spend CP to pass morale. 2 CP. I'm literally hoping they spend the 2 CP to pass the morale and just waste CP as fast as possible. Imagine them choosing like, all right, I have 1 cultist left. I need to roll 1. Or I spend 2 CP on 1 cultist to not fail morale to save him or save 3 victory points. Most of the time, they're probably not going to spend the CP. But if they do, hey, you just costed your opponent 2 CP for a shitty unit, right? So this fleeing vectors, I think, is going to be huge in a lot of Space Marine matches, in a lot of even other mirror matches. I'm playing Grey Knight, so Grey Knight match. Really, anybody that orcs, I use this against orcs, and you max out by turn 2 or 3. Because when they charge you and you killed 7 models, you're still literally getting 3 victory points in their charge phase. Like it's crazy, guys. This is such a huge bonus to Death Guard. So that's the first one. Now let's go into the next one, which is going to be Despoiled Ground. This one was very hard to score. You either get tabled or you get 15. Like it's such a swing. There's a lot of matches that you can't even pull this off a lot of times because you had to be away 6 inches on the last edition. So if you're 6 inches away from the board edge, you basically have to be 12 inches away from each unit to get points, because you have to be wholly within 6 inches of the zone. So now they changed it to 3 inches of the zone. So as long as you're wholly within 3 inches of the table quarters, you're good to go. And we're slow as fuck already. So if we have to go 3 inches less, that's going to help us out so much. You can basically run units at the end of the game to get either near objectives, steal objectives, get in different quarters. So I'm assuming this one is going to be taken a lot more now, as long as you're not facing like Tau and you're just going to get tabled at the end of the game, Thousand Suns, Psyker Army, stuff like that. Then you're obviously probably going to be taking Despoiled Ground, because this is an end game objective, so you have to have units alive at the end game. They changed this last edition where it's just Death Guard units. It was like Bubonic Astartes, so it was like just infantry. Then it was Death Guard or whatever. Now it's Death Guard. So really anybody that has the Death Guard keyword, tanks, rhinos, zombies, like really anybody in the codex can score this now. Characters as well. So 1 or more Death Guard units from your army is wholly within your opponent's deployment zone. And 1 of your Death Guard units is wholly within your deployment zone. So as long as you get somebody in their deployment zone and your deployment zone, boom, 3 points. 1 or more Death Guard wholly within 3 different table quarters and more than 3 inches away from the table edge or quarter, that's 3 points. So basically, if you're already thinking 1 in their zone, 1 in your zone, and then 1 random rhino in this zone, you're at 6 points. Then if you control, or 1 or more Death Guard units are wholly within 4 different table quarters. So if you're in all 4, you're at 9 right now. So just doing those 3 right there, you're at 9 points. Another easy one is if you control half or more. So if there's 5 objectives, you control 3 of them, which should be easy if you're going second. So if you control 3 of them, you're getting 3 points. If you control half or more, it's holding an object on the battlefield. So yeah, so then if you control 3 on a 6, then you're still getting 3 points. So you don't have to beat your opponent. Let's say your opponent has 3, you have 3, you still get 3 points. So that's awesome. every objective marker on the battlefield is within contagion range of one or more contagion abilities of your death guard. So this one is a little bit trickier. You have to basically run near an objective to get in contagion range. Now you can be 9 inches away though, because by turn 4 it's 9 inches. So as long as your contagion range is 9 inches away from that objective, it's going to count. So you don't have to get onto every objective by the end of the game. You basically just have to be near it. So if one of your guys is in the middle of 2 objectives, it's still going to count for those 2 objectives being in contagion range, but you just have to make sure you control at least 3 of them by the end of the game. So this one should be pretty easy. So that's 15 points, guys, if you're doing this at the end of the game. So plan that out. By turn 4, you're probably going to hop some guys into a rhino. You're going to run the rhino as far over as you possibly can. And then turn 5, you're going to run those guys out of the rhino or get out, charge something, get onto that objective, steal that point, and get into contagion range. And then your rhino can then move, wherever it's got to go to either stay in this corner, go in another corner. It's basically, you're just spreading out turn 5. I'd rather get 15 on this as much as possible than just try and tabling my opponent. So you should have already got probably 15 on fleeing vectors if you took this. So this one's more about just surviving and then spreading out at the very end. So this is also very good because Arks of Omen, guys, you can reserve for free. So planning on having a unit either in deep strike or a unit walking on the table edge, it's going to be a lot easier to get into different quarters now, all the way in the corner, because you can put a 5-man unit into reserve. You can put another 5-man into reserve walking on that side. So they're not getting shot for the first 3 turns. Turn 3, you're basically just walking the rest of your army on that you had from reserves from turn 1. So they can also walk on, shoot, maybe get an easy charge. Then you still have 2 more turns to get them to where they have to be, whether they're getting close to a back end objective to steal it, getting over to shoot something, maybe getting another 3 points for fleeing vectors, walking on the table edge and shooting something. So I think this is a good objective. It's hard again against ones that you're facing Tau. I face Tau and I just get tabled. So you have to get points before you get tabled. So this one is not a good one for that. But it's good for armies that you can survive or hide for at least 3 turns and not get blown off the table. So that's the Despoiled Ground. I think it's good. It's a bonus because now it's 3 inches compared to 6. Spread the Sickness. Still one of the best ones we have. Freaking zombies don't have to take mortal wounds. Characters don't have to take mortal wounds. It basically just does it. So the only thing is with the characters now on a 4+ objective. So you have to have objective secured. Everything we have is objective secured besides our characters. So let's read this. If you select this objective, Death Guard infantry unit from your army can attempt to perform this action. One Death Guard infantry unit from your army can start to perform this action at the end of the movement phase if it's within an objective marker you control has not been contaminated by your army. Complete at the end of your turn. If completed turn, perform the action. So I can't read. That objective marker is said to have been contaminated by your army. Otherwise, roll a d6 on a 4-up. That objective marker is said to have been contaminated by your army. So you have to have objectives secured for it to count automatically. Otherwise, roll d6 on a 4+, then it goes off. So it's harder to do it on characters, obviously, but we have so much objective secured infantry models. All of our both Terminator units, our Plague Marines, and our zombies. So basically everything we're bringing in every single game is going to be able to do this. 3 victory points on objective marker in your deployment zone, which I think is one of the very few armies that has that. Most of the time it's 1 point. So I'm glad they didn't nerf that to 1 point, because then it's like, wow, I'd rather probably just bring raised banners. But you can do this on your home objective if you can't get to the center objective or one of the other objectives by turn 1. So you're kind of planning out to try and get to at least the center objective or another objective turn 1 to spread, just to get out of the way so you don't have to focus on it ever again. And then if you, let's say, mess up or miss one, you just do it with your zombies on the home objective for 3 points. So you're almost always going to get at least probably 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 points, 11 to 15 points for this objective every game. Because if you do it on the 3 center ones, that's 12, and then 3 on the home objective, that's 15. So this could be done at the very end of the game, as long as you have, your 12 going into the last turn, or your 11 going into the last turn, and then you kind of just walk on the opponent's objective and just cleanse it because you're controlling it most likely, and you're in that table quarter and you're controlling the objective. So like they all coincide with each other, whether it be fleeing vectors getting 18 points as soon as possible, spread the sickness, and the end game one, despoiled ground, doing that all at the same time at the end of the game. It's gonna benefit us, guys. So this one is still very, very good. How you can do this easily, or easier, I'm sorry, is putting guys in rhinos. So if you have a 5-man unit in a rhino behind a wall turn 1, they can get out 8 inches. So most of the time, if you have turn 1, you can walk out 8 inches to spread that center objective, or same thing, if you put your rhino in the top left corner and you're trying to get out 8 inches on the objective that's like slanted, cockeyed, then you're going to be able to do that easily. So I'm trying to get my harder objectives, the 2 on the edge and the 1 in the center, as soon as possible. Other missions where there's, the long horizontal deployment where you're got 2 objectives and you could literally just walk on and despoil. That's 4, 8, 1 in the center, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 1 in your deployment zone. So doing those are going to be easy. So that's in 4, 8, 9, that's a easy 11 points for those missions. And then fighting for the center is going to be your last 15 points. So those missions, it's going to be easy. But the harder ones are going to be the ones where it's the 5 objectives, 1 dead center, the other 2 dead center. You can't, pregame move that mission. Everybody knows that mission. That mission's annoying, but that's going to be probably one of the hardest ones to despoil ground. But again, you're going to want to still take it because you're going to be moving that way anyway in the center objectives and trying to fight for those 3 center ones. That's 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15 if you get those 4 objectives. And you can be walking on the side table edges with your guys in reserve. You can be deep striking. You can use drop pods. This is easy if you have a drop pod. So you bring a drop pod down turn 1, you despoil 1. On that objective, let's say you do a secondary on the same objective for the tertiary, but you at least now have 10 plague marines or 5 terminators on that objective with a drop pod, despoiling turn 1. So that's one way to do it, and then you can always put them back in the pod and then run the pod 12 plus d6 inches closer to the enemy team, so that way they're like, oh shit, there's 5 terminators or there's 10 plague marines in that pod, I gotta do something about it. So couple different strategies on how to do that, but that's also a very, very good secondary that we have for Death Guard. So let's go back up to the top, guys. I think I'm going to be running Death Guard with those 3 objectives almost every single time, unless I'm facing Knights, opponents that I can't get 7 models dead every single turn, or somebody that just doesn't take morale tests. It's going to be a little bit harder to do. Necrons, you can still do it. It's just obviously harder. But you're going to be able to kill at least 7 models, hopefully a turn, because they're going to be, removing or rezzing people back up. But no prisoners is also still a good one for Necrons, because if you just kill shit, you get points. So let's go to top. So assassinate. I'm trying to think about what are we going to switch out for one of the standard ones. I think assassinate would be good because we're going to have a lot of troops. Our troops are going to be the Plague Marines. So if our Plague Marines are killing characters, you're getting points. You're getting a CP for that. Kind of coincides with Tallyman CP because you can't double it up. But at least if Tallyman fails, you still have this as a backup. So Assassinate could be one that we can take. Bring it down. Obviously, if you're facing Knights, that's the easy one to take. Instead of fleeing vectors, you just take Bring It Down and then you're good to go. Grind them down, I don't think is going to be good for this type of meta now. We're going to be running a lot more kind of 5-man Plague Marines, zombies, 3-man Terminator blobs, or a 10-man Terminator blob, which still can die, obviously without armor contempt. So we're going to have to change up our meta. We don't really want to be going for grind them down. You could, it's just not preferred. I'd rather take fleeing vectors, because you don't get penalized for not doing it one turn. You can still wait and do 3 to 6 the next turn, or in your opponent's turn, you can still get it. So grind them down is still pretty hard. So I'd rather take fleeing vectors and no prisoners. Again, if you can't do 7 models, but they have a lot of wounds, let's say like Custodes, 3 wounds, 4 wound models, then no prisoners might be a better one to take. Plus all the bikes that they might be running. So Warpcraft, our psychers want to be casting stuff. If we don't even bring a psyker, you might just take Arbor the Witch. But most of the time we're going to have our one psyker or our demon prince in the list, which is a psyker, so we can't really be taking that. You can take Warp Ritual if you have like your demon prince hop up and kind of just sit in the center of the table, but it can still be denied. So it's still kind of up in the air on which Warp Ritual. Psychic Interrogation got nerfed. You have to be able to see the model that you're trying to psychic interrogate. If there's a way that we can boost our psychic tests or psychic powers, this might be worth it. But right now, I haven't taken interrogation with Death Guard, I think, since I've played them. So very hard to take with that. These ones, Battlefield Supremacy, if you are like, all right, I'm probably going to get tabled. What can I take besides Despoiled Ground? Engage in all fronts. It's going to be great, especially now that you can do reserves. You can deep strike your 3-man Terminators in. You can reserve a 5-man Plague Marine unit just walking on the table. Your Rhinos, running across the table. They changed it now so that instead of 6 inches for 4 quarters, you can be within 3. It's still 6 inches for 3 table quarters though, but at least if you're trying to get into all 4, you only have to be within 3 inches of the table quarter. So this one's decent if you think that you can get at least 10 on this one. If you start, within those 3 table quarters, it's going to be almost impossible if you're doing like Dawn of War deployment, where you can't, advance or pregame move or anything like that. And the one that, the one that starts in 2 table quarters, that's going to be hard. If you have the one that goes slanted and you can start in 3 table quarters, or it's the 9-inch circle in the center and you're already on the edge of 3 table quarters, that's going to be the one you want to get engage on, as long as your list is built for it. So building for engage, make sure you build it ahead of time. Most of the time I'm probably going to be taking Despoiled Ground because it's end game, so I don't have to focus on doing it every turn. I can kind of be tanky the first couple turns and then start spreading out and taking over. Behind enemy lines, I think is going to be pretty fun to try, especially since our troops, we have a lot of troops that are going to be running. So if you're literally just kind of bum rushing the opponent and you have maybe 2 or 3 Rhinos with, 2 5-man Plague Marines in each squad, you're kind of just rushing the opponent as soon as possible. You might have a drop pod in that list. You can have Mortarion walking on the side, table edge. So there's a lot of cool list that instead of Despoiled Ground, if you just want to bum rush and go as fast as possible, I think behind enemy lines would be pretty fun for Death Guard, because you're going to get there and they're going to be like, oh shit, I have to try and do something about this or I just die. I actually ran this when I was running Mortarion with a drop pod list. So it was Mortarion, drop pod with 4 Terminators and the Lord of Contagion kind of coming down and hopefully getting a charge off turn 1, but Mortarion's running up and hopefully getting a charge off, or moving up 12 and then charging if he's on that line of the 9-inch bubble. It's a pretty easy charge. So behind enemy lines would still be fun, so that is a good alternative instead of Despoiled Ground. And then finally we have Spread the Sickness. This one's going to be really hard to counter. Raise the Banners. I'd rather just get the action done and be done with it instead of trying to keep banners up the entire game. If they have a lot of OBSEC in the enemy team, or they're going to be rushing you and that they can clear off your objectives, banners is never a good one. But we also do have a lot of OBSEC, so banners isn't a bad one. You just have to make sure you have the actions to do those banners every single turn. Plus, we're pretty slow. So if you build a list for this with the drop pod, you can have the drop pod come down, have a banner, and kind of just hold down that point and defend that point. You want to try and at least raise 3 banners. So the objectives that have the 6 missions that have the 6 objectives on, or the ones that have the 2 objectives and the 1 in your zone, that could be one that you can do banners on. So you walk up with your entire army, put banners down, put a banner down on your home objective and just be like, all right, come at me. And then by turn 3, you're starting to move out. Your reserves are coming on, and then you get the Despoiled Ground. And then obviously fleeing vectors if you're doing that from turn 3 to turn 5. So that could be a good combo with that. So that's an option. Retrieve Nephilim data. I take this as a last resort because my Plague Marines and Terminators want to do shit. They don't want to kind of just sit there and do data. So you have to have, this is better for Grey Knights, where they just drop 100-point unit of strikes in the backfield and just do data for free. So it's harder when you have units that are slow. They don't have jump packs and they really can't move around the board as fast as other armies. So this one's going to be kind of like on the back burner. If I need to take this, let's say I literally don't have any other choice, this would probably be my last choice to take. So again, my top choices, all the Death Guard ones. Secondary choices, you have a couple options. And third choices are going to be anything in like the Warp Ritual, Retrieve Nephilim Data, and probably Assassinate. I would put Assassinate above all the other ones, but those are the ones that, and Grind. Sorry, Grind is below Assassinate. So yeah, so hopefully guys, that is my mindset on what I'm going to be doing in Arks of Omen for Death Guard. I have a Death Guard video coming up. I'm actually going to be recording it tonight against Sisters. It's a new fun Sisters player, so I'm going to be testing out all the Death Guard options. Our Death Guard missions are pretty good for Sisters, so we're going to be seeing how that is. But a lot of videos are coming up, guys. We are, again, sold out on the dice, so I apologize for that. But if you guys want to support the channel, it's $1 a month for the Patreon. Go over and join the Dirtbag Nation. We just came back from LBO a couple weeks ago, and a couple of my Patreons came up. It was fucking awesome. You guys are the best. And then I am on Facebook. So if you guys hit the link below, I started posting stuff on Facebook. Just so I can like let everybody know, I want to kind of separate my personal account with the Dirtbags. So I have a Dirtbag channel on Facebook. So if you guys want to see news that are coming up and kind of different stuff that we're giving away, go join the Facebook. And then obviously Discord. Discord is going to be the main thing that you're getting to. We have over 200 people on our Dirtbag Nation Discord. So you guys are fucking awesome. You're all part of the Dirtbags. But I appreciate you guys. Thanks for clicking on the video. A ton of stuff is coming up on the channel. Let me know in the suggestion box. We are doing a bunch of suggestions on Discord as well. But appreciate it, and we'll see you in another video soon.